Welcome, everybody, to Thursday. Happy Thursday. And we have a very, very special guest with us today, which we do every day. Yes, I do say every day because everybody is so unique. It's so special. And today, oh my goodness, we are going to answer the number one question that you learn as a child and probably your child trained you at, which is why? Why? So Simon Sinek put, the power of why on the map and on the universe. And today we're here to do a deep dive with a WHY.os, which we're going to discuss what it is, specialist in in our very own mentor expert, Judy Cirullo, whom I cannot wait to find out what she's got for us and why it is so important. So let's get to it.
Empowering women on a global scale. Welcome to Powerful Women Today with Carolina Billings. Powerful Women Today is on a mission of inclusion, rewriting his story to include her story, and empowering, raising, and amplifying women's voices with professional speaking, publishing, original podcasting, and web TV. And now here's your host, the founder of Powerful Women Today, Carolina Billings.
Welcome, Judy. Such pleasure to speak to you today because this is one of those things. We were speaking about the power of why and how it became, a cultural, icon, right? A little bit like the law of attraction. But the part that I am so excited to share with all of our friends and our audience today is that, just finding your why. Okay, that's not the whole story. That's just knocking at the door, right? Like there's a whole system of implementing it so that it works for you how it is designed. Just like the law of attraction, you can't just wish things into, there's got to be, there's a process in a protocol, in an understanding of it. So tell us how you first became, clearly you're extremely proficient at it. So how did you first wanted to go deeper than just the find your why, find your purpose?
We've heard about knowing your why for a long time and your purpose. I mean, that just kind of goes round and round, doesn't it? So when people ask you why you do what you do, oftentimes people answer it by saying what they do or how they do it. I think for me, after I got into coaching, after I got on my clinical side of things and got into coaching, one of the things that was really intriguing to me is helping people really understand and appreciate their life experiences that brought them to who they are. But then when you ask people why they do that, what motivates them, they answer it with a how or a what. So when we talk about the why, and when we talk about the WHY.os, the why is really a discovery. The OS is the operating system. So it really, simply, is why do we function the way we do it? The how and the what. So when we talk about Simon Sinek, he described the golden circle. So most business owners, when you ask, why do you do that? Oh, well, I'm a clinician, I'm a physical therapist, I'm a business owner, I treat patients, or I have a machine shop or whatever. That's what they do. But what motivates you? What drives you? Why do you do what you do? And many people can't answer that. So I wanted to dig deeper into it, and then got connected with the Why Institute, who worked with Simon Sinek to develop the only discovery tool and the algorithm around the why. And now we know that there are 9 whys, and everyone has one.
It blew when you said that. It just like, okay, now I need to know them. Now I need to know the 9 whys. But before we go there, right? So let's talk about the actual why, because when someone is asked, because I think it really needs to. There's some clarity. There's some clarity of clarity and reframing of why. Because
Mm-hmm.
usually, as adults, right, when someone
Mm-hmm.
asks why, there tends to be, I don't know if you've experienced this, but it tends to be a little bit of defensiveness that instantly, populates the processing, or we instantly go into the what do you mean why? Like, why am I being questioned, right? Or did I do something
Yes.
wrong? Or, accountability, or like, there's a certain defensiveness that comes to it. So one of the first things that I would like to think is that we need to let go of that, right? And understand that in the context of finding your purpose,
Mm-hmm.
asking why is fundamental.
Yes. So, so there's a little bit of science behind this.
Mhm.
The why actually comes from the limbic part of our brain,
Okay.
where there is no language, but our motivation is there. So why is what motivates us, what drives us. And
Mhm.
so here's an example. I'll use myself as an example. I have a why of make sense. I have a how of clarity, and I have a what of contribute. That's my golden circle. So what does that mean? Well, I'm a big problem solver, and I jump in and solve problems. And when I'm working with people, they may not want me to solve their problem. They may want me to help them discover it. And so if I understand that my driver is I take complex pieces of information and I make sense out of it for people, then if someone's working with me, whether it's a client or an employee or something, they'll say, oh, she's a big problem solver. Okay, I understand that now. And
Mm.
then I won't be so defensive about that particular aspect of what I do. I drive it. How do I make sense for people? I make things clear. It's very important for me to ensure that people understand or have clarity about what I'm saying.
Mhm.
And so when I start asking a lot of questions, sometimes people can get annoyed if they don't know my why.
Mhm.
So if I understand your why and you're going to ask a lot of questions about a topic, you're not challenging me. You're actually expressing your function of your why and your how and your what.
And what's
So
the importance of onboarding, right? In coaching, we
absolutely.
call it establishing an alliance, but
Yep.
it's really just onboarding, or prefacing why we're doing what we're doing, right? So that the other person understands. And like you said, you know, it's almost establishing trust.
It,
And which is funny because you speak a lot about trust,
I
and it's
do.
directly
Mhm.
linked with, high functioning teams, and
It
in good
is.
communication and trust, and in high performance and high collaboration. Without trust is impossible. In part of
You,
explaining your why, well, it is impossible to 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 go the distance with it. I think short term you can patch it up, but to really go the distance without trust, it's difficult. It's really difficult.
you bring up a really great segue into why
Mhm.
understanding the WHY.os in team members. So if you're a leader, a business owner, if you understand your why, and then the rest of their team also discovers their why, their how, and their what that does is enhances beautifully the communication, the integration, and the of the collaboration. And so with these 9 whys, I may have somebody on my team that has a why of a right way. They do things by the book. They're by the policies. You go and ask them a question. It's kind of a black or white, but at least I understand then how to interact and or utilize that in my team because I understand that.
And by the way, teams are many. Like, I wish we all begin to see families as a team,
Oh,
communities
yes.
as a team, right?
Yes,
Relationships as a team. It's not just cowork. Like, usually we have
it's
better
not.
relationship with our coworkers than sometimes we do with our own family and friends and community.
Yes.
because of the understanding of how the team comes together, which is the whole why. We have a common mission and vision, right? And I know it
Exactly.
sounds a little quirky. It's like having family meetings, right? But you know what? Especially now, especially when there's so much going on for
Yes.
us, and there's so many, you know, functioning teams breaking apart like family.
Hmm. Yes.
Doing work like this is like, all I'm telling you is that don't just think, oh, you know what, I don't work in a team, or, oh, you know what, this is not part of, I don't need this for my profession. Well, good for
Okay.
you. But the reality is that, you know what, you're not an island. And the second
No.
you're functioning with someone else, this is a key ingredient for success. So let's get to those 9 whys, because I'm like just dying to go there.
Okay. So there's a nine.
Please.
It's fascinating, and I won't go into all the research and stuff about how they came up with these, but it's fascinating. The first one's better way. So people with a better way are always looking for a way to improve things and bring about new ideas.
Okay.
And each why has its characteristics, its challenges, its solutions, how you use it in relationships, how you use it at work, etc. So those are things. The next one is contribute. So people with a why of contribute are always looking for a better way. So to make they are going after a greater cause. They are something, they want to contribute to something greater than themselves.
Mhm.
The next one is clarify. So people with clarify really want to bring clarity. So they ask questions so they can understand a lot. Yeah. There's challenge. So now, if you ever run into people who challenge the status quo, why are they always challenging my ideas? Why are this? Because they have a why of challenge. But and once again, if you start to understand these, then you can really engage and interact and dialogue in a positive, innovative fashion. Fourth one, or the make sense, is the other one, and those folks, as I said, they like to take a lot of complex information and drill it down so it makes sense. There's mastery. So if you work with somebody with mastery, they always analyze all the details, gather all the data. They're slow to make decisions. They frustrate you because they can't make a decision. That's mastery. Then I mentioned the why of right way. Those are folks who really do it by the book. If you want something done right, you're going to go to that individual. Simplify. So people with simplify just like to make things simple. And so they thrive on simplifying processes and systems. And then there's trust.
Mm.
And trust is a really big one. People thrive on having relationships that are meaningful. They work hard to create those relationships, and they take that as the most important element for them. So those 9 whys are really important. Now you take those 9 whys, and those whys can be part of the how and the what.
Mhm. What
So
I'm hearing, and I want you to give us some examples and to break it down for all of us, right? Because this is now like a full expanded,
yes,
understanding
it
of it.
is.
But what I am hearing from what you just said, and I'm really liking this, is that is a fusion. Is a fusion that takes in diversity and inclusion, because now we're
Mhm.
understanding
Yep,
the processing methodology, or someone that thinks differently than we do or has a different motivator, right?
exactly.
It,
Yes.
it also takes in the different ways. So it's almost like a little bit of disc and a little bit of, in a little bit
Exactly.
of
Mhm.
diversity and inclusion, and a little bit of the learning styles and in personality styles. And it's just like gelling it all together.
Yes.
And you know that is brilliant, because sometimes we're exposed to one in isolation, but we're not necessarily layering them all together,
Mhm.
so that it's like a 3D. Because dealing, people often refer to, like, it's a checker game, it's a chess game. Yes, but it's a 3D, because you got to take every single personality style, communication style, learning style, diversity, inclusion, all of it, right? Into these. So it's like parallel universe occurring at once. And I'm liking how this is bringing all together. That
Ye-
is like really, really good. So give us an example of how we would how would we identify someone's why,
mm.
right?
So
And how does it fuse with the what and the how? Sorry, I just needed to finish that thought.
so by taking the discovery, so the discovery is not an assessment, but it helps you discover your why, your how, and your what. So certainly as we coach more and more and we work with this on a regular basis, we can kind of pick out that with people, but you really need to do the discovery because of the algorithm that's been put together to identify that. So people will if they take a WHY.os discovery, they will come up with their why, their how, and their what. So their why is what motivates them, what drives them, why they do what they do, how they do it, and what people can count on them for. So it needs to be the first step in decision making, because it's not an assessment like all the other assessments we've talked about. It is discovering what makes us tick, why we do what we do, why we respond. Then we can go from there at moving ourselves forward in whichever direction, because we know what drives us.
Yeah, and also not just I would imagine, and I'm curious to try this assessment, because it's not just what drives us, but I would imagine it would also inform us of any unconscious biases that we may have, right? And also explore, because you may think you know why you're doing what you're doing, but whenever there's an opportunity to break it down into smaller, there's a saying in mindfulness that if you ask someone, if you continue asking why of someone, right?
Yes, yes.
About the fifth why, it'll break your heart, right?
Yep.
Because it's like the
Yes.
layer behind the layer behind the layer behind the layer. And a lot of times we use certain whys, like as a reasoning, why we make the choices we do, but yet they're not congruent with the desired outcome. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
People may say, and you hear this a lot from high achieving people who put in their all into their profession, their career, their business, anything like that. And oftentimes they say, I'm building this for my family.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yet, so you would think their why is to be a good provider, right? To be with their family, they're doing it like altruistically for their family,
Yes.
kind
Mm-hmm.
of. But the reality is that if they never see you, and you're never home, you don't even know, the last time you saw your children, are you really doing it for your family? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
there's a miscongruency there,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because does your family really need this? And you often see it in the children. It's ironic. You see it in the children of people who are impacting lives around the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
and they're not as impressed with their parents as we are, because their why is to change the world, right? Yet
Yes.
their
Yes.
immediate people are like, what about us? What about this
Right.
world, right? So I think it would be a great source of realignment, as much as clarity and what and execution. And I love that it's operating system, because what also brings to mind is that for some reason I'm big on congruency. That's the word that's coming out, is that
Yeah.
part of the reason that sometimes our goals we're not able to see our goals through,
Right.
or that they don't bring about fulfillment once they're achieved, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
um in
Yes.
a plethora of examples, but it's this congruency between the why, the what, and the how.
Yes.
is and I was reading a post today from someone that was tempted to answer, but I did not. Because I wanted to really, I think it's a bigger question than just answering a post, right? And
Yeah.
it's someone that was saying, like I ask myself every single day, is solopreneurship for me, right? Am I achieving what I'm supposed to achieving? Is like it's
Hmm.
not like a really demoralized, moment, right? A
Yep.
vulnerable moment.
Yeah.
And all I could think of is, if you're constantly asking yourself, is this for me? Right? That's kind of a clue that this may not be for you, right?
Right.
And also, why are you doing it? So if you're doing it to derive income, or are you doing it to derive fulfillment? Are you
Yes.
doing it as an expression of self, right? Because
Yes.
you can still get a job and still find an outlet
Yeah.
for this desire, right?
Yes.
They may not be congruent because you may be the best, carpenter in the world, right? Or interior designer, but you dislike what it means to be in business, like selling, or you may not have the aptitude or the budget to
Yep.
outsource the areas that you don't want to do, right?
Yes.
You're asking yourself, so what's the biggest why? Right? So there's like more than one why to any one thing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, aside
Yes.
from identifying your own inner, wiring, kind of, right? So, and this is and I go back and I love Simon Sinek, and if you have not seen his TED talk, you definitely need to check it out, right? But it's not the whole story.
No.
And you need to really connect with a mentor
Yes.
expert like Judy to break it down, to get the full version of it, so that you get the right outcome from asking those questions, right?
Yes. Yes. Very
Especially
much
if
so.
you're an entrepreneur, because I hear a lot of women, like, because women are not driven by power or money. It's not usually not their primary driver.
No.
So they go with why, right? So if you're going to do that, you want to go the whole distance with the why, not just stop. Oh, this is
Absolutely.
my why, right? So connect
Yes.
with Judy, and you can find Judy at powerfulmentoday.com, mentor experts, and of course LinkedIn. Just connect with her. So we're up to the end of this. This has been like enlightening. I love it, and cannot wait to hear more.
Thank you. Oh, it's
So,
great.
Judy, is up to, we went over time, but it's just that powerful a topic. So, if you could just, do our send off, is what can they do today, aside from connecting with you? What can they do today to begin to reframe and to begin to activate their operating system in
Yes.
the kind of the right equation?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Short of doing the actual discovery and connecting with me to do that, what I would take out of here is I would say spend 2 to 3 minutes saying, what's in my gut? What's in my heart? Why do I do what I do?
Mm-hmm.
Can I answer that?
Journal it, write it down. Write it
Yes.
down.
And how do I do it? And then what do I contribute to others? So it's really what you bring to the world, but the most important is what's in your heart, that emotional connection that comes from your gut, from your limbic brain, if you will. That's your why. And there's no words to describe it.
This has been absolutely insightful. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
I keep pointing to the wrong, the screen is reversed. So just connect with Judy. The information is going to be above or below, depending on the channel. So have a
Oh, thank
fabulous
you.
Thursday, and we'll see you next time.
Empowering women on a global scale. This has been Powerful Women Today with Carolina Billings. To learn more about how you can join and transform your life and the lives of women everywhere with professional speaking, publishing, podcasting, and web TV, visit powerfulwomentoday.com. Remember to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you like to listen and watch your podcasts.